Are we live? Is everybody happy? Can we move this speaker a little bit backward or something, so that it will not be shouting in our ear? No echo. Be saying here. Let's remove that speaker. If you can even go a little bit further to the wall. No, because we will need it eventually. It's going to be feeding us in by the time we start. Oh, we start mixing. Okay, my sister doesn't want to. So, okay, I will need some. I will need a. Is it possible that you take this remotely in your hand? I don't know if the power is enough, so that you can be switching for us, especially. Yeah, just check. Make sure the power. Okay, yeah, and then it's interesting. We are seeing ourselves here. Is there a way we can probably turn that TV somewhere so that we won't be having that look back? You get? Is infinite. Let's turn on the TV. Okay, good. All right. Welcome to my tech talk. Now, can do we remember what we treated last week? No, 2 points. Okay. The life sound system and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will just quickly go over that for the for the benefit. Yeah, for the benefit of those that were not here last week, so you can sit down. So welcome to the second part. We trust that we'll be able to go much further into, you know, live mixing seminar. And okay, yeah, good. Okay. So as a way of just refreshing our mind, uh, when it comes to live sound system, live sound setup, there are a number of factors that contribute to having good sight. We highlighted four major ones. There are other ones, but number four, I was trying to remember. We classify them into two: human and non-human factors. The non-human factors, the acoustic of the room. So we emphasized last week that if the acoustic is terrible and you have the best gear in the world, your audio is still going to be terrible. Yep. So yeah, we had the acoustic, and what's the second one that is not human? Yeah, the sound source. The sound source. And the sound source is related to the musical instrument. The quality of your gear. Yeah, very important. So you can't compare a mixer. This particular mixer X32, thank God for Behringer. They have helped and saved a lot of lives. Nah, so X32 is about probably 3 grand, brand new in the market, 35. But there are mixers that are, in fact, I was still checking this week. Some Digico is about 98,000 grand. Yes, actually, even US, not Canadian dollar. Not to shade Canadian dollar, but yeah. So we can see that it will be unfair to demand the audio quality from those kind of gear from this kind of gear. However, the principle or the philosophy I've been working with is whatever you have. The Bible says whatever your hand finds doing, do it with all your might, with all the diligence and everything. Sorry, I just want to be making sure that online so that I'll be able to tell my my switcher to help us switch when there is a need to switch. Okay, where are you? Tag Studio. Okay, we are live. I'll just take out this now. Okay, good. So I hope that is not captured in the right. Okay, so okay, good. Now today I one of the things I want to do is to just do like a crash course, some very little things we can do, especially on a digital mixer, and it can be applied across board. Any mixer you are on, even some analog board has some of this capability. But we look at the advantages of some digital board too. That you know, you have more processing power. That's what digital board has availed us these days. That you have more processing power. For example, on each channel, you have at least 4 to 5 band EQ parameter. You have under that you have different type of EQ. You have high pass, low pass. You have shelf, high shelf, low shelf. You have parametric EQ. So the what's the English now? I'm looking for the English to use. But it's more flexible. Look at what I'm doing now. I'm using this mixer. In most churches, especially most small churches, you use one mixer to mix for your musicians for the stage. You use the same mixer to mix for your live stream audience. You use the same mixer to use for your in-house live audience. So you see, and how skillful you are is going to determine how uh, the output and how the quality and how you can maximize whatever gadget you have. So that's the fourth point actually that I was going to talk about, the human factor. We talk about it, but I think I focused more on the musician. So I didn't talk about your sound tech. Your sound tech determines a lot too. He is the manager. He manages whatever you feed in. As important as your source comes to play, as important as the quality of what your musicians are giving out, as important as they are, your sound tech, your music mixing engineer, or your front of house, or your monitor engineer, or your live broadcast engineer, also their skill, how they utilize whatever is given to them, is also very important. And that's one of the main reasons we're actually here. That I have a 5-man band, maybe 2 piano with 3 vocals, a bass guitar, and an electric guitar, and acoustic guitar. How do I mix them that anybody that listens to the music is decent enough? Do you understand? Because the truth about mixing is it can be very relative at times. What sounds very good to Mr. A might not sound very good to Mr. B. And the reason for that is, if you remember last week, we talked about creating reference. If Mr. A is exposed to rock music, if that is his taste, everything will be appearing rock to him. So if you want an R&B music to be mixed as a rock music. So if I'm R&B person, and that is my major taste, that is what I'm naturally inclined to. When I mix rock, I will be mixing it as if I'm mixing R&B. Meanwhile, the genre of the song also determine how you mix. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot of grammar and some. The point I'm trying to make is, whether you are mixing for different genre, there is always a point of compromise that everybody will come to, that say this is a decent mix. Do you understand? No matter what they think. Now, and how do you do that? How do you achieve that? Now, I will start by, this morning thinking about this. I also want to put this out there. Last week we talked to our leaders in the church when it comes to acoustic, how important acoustic is. So today, my nugget, let me just put it as like daily nugget, is to our musicians, like our instrumentalists. The truth is, there is this scuffle or beef between tech guys and musicians. Generally, across board, anywhere you go, you always it takes a lot of maturity and patience to be able to work together. So you see in most places, they always have one or two things going on. Now, this is my admonition, especially to the musicians. From a live mixing guy point of view, it's usually very rare to see very matured and very understanding musicians. They are not very common. I've met quite a number of them, and working with them just make what I'm doing easier, less difficult. Because the mature ones, because the truth is you are dealing with a lot of things, especially for example, if you are using a board for you're mixing for live stream, you are mixing for the musician, and you are mixing for the house. So you have three different, and in a standard and a proper setting, that's a three-man job. Someone is supposed to be dealing with the house, the front of house. Someone is supposed to be dealing with the live stream audience. So his attention 100% is on live stream. So if anything goes wrong on live stream, we'll hold him responsible, right? And there is another one that is for essentially for the musician. That's we call it monitor engineer. That's his job. So he's the one that deals with directly with the musicians. But in a case whereby you are only using one board for all these three, you know that under a lot of pressure by default, even if you are just an FOH person alone, because what even increases the pressure is that it's life sound, so it's not deterministic. It's very stochastic in nature. Like anything can happen at any point in time, so you have to be on your toes. So you're trying to be on your toes. You're trying to address the musicians, and they are really not even making life easy for you. So now my admonition to musicians is be understanding, improve on your craft and your skillfulness. It's very important. Some people will not their skill is not there yet, but they want you to do magic. They want you to perform magic. I mean, there are some things you really cannot correct, cannot do. And of course, there are a lot of things we can talk about. Probably, God permit, we'll have some time to, it's passionate in my heart to actually have a seminar for musicians from a sound point of view. It's very important that we do that. So if you're a musician, thumbs up, you're doing great. But we can always do better. That's the truth. And we can make life easier for both of us, because we are supposed to work together to achieve and to produce good music. So today, we'll just quickly run through some some quick workflow that usually will make life easier, and then we'll now begin to, because the truth is in 2 hours we can't really go in depth into everything, every button you're seeing here. But thinking about this one, I just thought about it that okay, let's do something that, since we have a whole multi-track recording that we can practice with, and then how can we set up our board that even someone that doesn't know anything, someone that is a rookie, can come and make a little bit sense out of what we have and then still make it work. So there are some things here that I'm going to show us. So if we can switch to the mixer now for the people at home. Yeah, great, excellent. That's, yeah, you're on point. So is it moving? Okay, I should not move this. Now, the mixer is divided into two major parts. Essentially, you have the input part and you have the output part. In most mixer, I'm going to be referring to digital board. They are across different manufacturers, they might make some little changes, but the principle is basically the same. So if I can mix well on a Behringer, I can as well mix well on a high level digital board. The only difference is that I need to get familiarized with the complexity of the user interface and everything. Once I'm able to lay hold of how the board is arranged, I can even customize it to my own taste. That's the beautiful thing about this again. I can, yeah, you can, it's very important. Please jot, because there is, yeah, no, that's why we are not showing you too much. Yeah, and online too. You can also watch it. I can, you can make your note. Okay, I'm sure when you write. Okay, that's good. So, and if you remember last week, how many of us remember when I said how different way we can get audio into the mixer? Do you remember? Yes, through the line in, not the input. We have local input, good. And then we talk about the AES, the stage box. We talk about the card. There is a USB card behind. That is what I'm using to transfer audio. So I have all this track from channel 1 to like 23, 24. Yeah, so there is a card at the back that just uses USB. So USB transmit, I can record 32 channel, and I can play back the 32 channel back into the, so it will look like I'm live in an event. So we use this for what we call virtual sound check. If I finish setup and I want to do sound check and the musicians are not around, I can easily use this, and it will make my life much easier. Yeah. So I just want to show us. So we have the input and we have the output. Now, understanding of this is very basic and fundamental in any audio gear. If I give you any gear today that you have never used before, that is audio, the first thing you should look for is, where is the input, where is the output, what kind of input does it take, and what kind of output does it give. Remember, we talked about 3 levels of signal. So basically, the mixer take essentially microphone microphone level. Sometimes it can take line level too. Yeah, line, like line, LINE, and microphone. So we have 3 levels essentially. Some other guys will say 4, but 3 broadly. We have the microphone level, and we have the line level, and we have the speaker level. So understanding of these levels of signal, and the understanding that there is always an input, there's always an output. Now in this mixer, the essentially, you can at least, this can take up to 32 plus 6 is what? 38 plus 2 more, 40. So you can take 40 input. Yeah, but not all of them can come in the same way. Do you understand? For example, you have 6 auxiliary input, you have USB input, so that you can input from the flash too. So that's why they. So if you see the advertisement of this, if you see the what's it called? They will call it a 40 input board. Yeah, and it has 16 buses. Now, what are buses? Buses are like highways. They are like highways of your signal that you can send signal to them and keep them in the bus, in the mixer. BUS, yes. You can send signal to them and keep them in the mixer. You can also send signal to them with the mind of sending them out of the mixer. We will probably, hopefully, get there today. Do you understand? So there are 16 buses. Now on the output side, it has 16 output too. Do you understand? So you have 32 to 40 input. You have 16 output, 16 buses, and you also have 16 output. What that means is that I can connect up to 16 different outputs. Like I see it as the water in the tap. Like, if you different channels, right? So the water comes into your house, but you have different outlets in your house that you can different where you can receive water. Do you understand? And you can open your tap in all the room at the same time. You can decide to open one at a time. So see it that way. That I can say, if you notice, so you see bus 1 to 8 here, and you see bus 19 to 16 here. Now these buses are like I said, a highway. So we can now decide that my bus 1, I want it to come out in output 1. You can decide that my bus 1, I want it to come out in output 10. That's what we do in routing. So that's where you determine, okay, this is where, for example, the audio we're using for the live stream is sent to bus 11 and 12. But by the time we are sending it out of the mixer, we sent it out of output 7 and 8. Do you understand? So you can determine what works for you. Now, just a brief description of what we have on the board. From channel 1 to 10 is our drum. We have 10 channels for drums. We have channel 11 to 14 for 11 to 12 keyboard left and right. 13 and 14 is synth. Synth is like a keyboard. It's what gives surround sound. In fact, when we get there, you'll see we have channel 15 for acoustic. Channel 16 doesn't has anything, although it's labeled electric, but 17 and 18 I have a stereo electric guitar. Oh, interesting. This is not linked, so this is supposed to be linked. Stereo electric guitar. This is linked. This is linked. Okay. So this is not linked. Okay. And then from 20 to 23, I have my vocals. Okay, actually it's supposed to be 20 to 24, so I will have one more vocal in 24. So I have my vocal. So you see, when I was telling the mixer to take in audio, I asked it to take audio from channel 1 to 24 from the card. So if you look at this mixer, you see C, 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 C. If I'm taking it from the stage box, you see A. You remember when we go to routing. Now, yeah. So what I want us to understand now is how do I can now set up my mixer that I can easily work with whatever I have. I use 2 or 3 major tools here. I use the DCA group, and I also use the mute group. So let me quickly talk about DCA group and mute group. These are some of the things that make your work very easy. You can easily work around. DCA essentially stands for Digital Controlled Amplifier. So what that means is that I can group different channels under each DCA and control their volume at the same time. Instead of, for example, in my mix, the whole of the drum is too loud, it's too forward in the mix. So instead of coming to reduce them one by one, I will just come to my DCA, group them on this DCA, and just bring it down. You see, it makes my workflow easier. Provided that I have already set everything, but when I'm listening to Yandy, maybe another drummer that is a little bit crazier come. Do you understand? Or more energetic. Well, that energetic is a more decent word. But I mean, sorry, in the live sound world, you see a lot of things. I mean, the same drum, we set it up. Somebody came. Somebody came to play, and everybody was enjoying it. But another person came, and you were thinking, what's going on? It's the same drum, it's the same setting. So, and people are not, like I said, people are not very forgiving of their sound engineer. They don't even, because they don't understand. So the first person they go to is that this sound engineer is too loud, but it's the same level that this guy just played. So the same thing with the piano. Do you understand? So it can be a nightmare working with very lousy musicians. Now, that's why that's where education comes into play. That when people understand what is really going on, because many times the engineer is not even. It's there's really nothing you can. For example, someone has a guitar amp on the stage, and the guitar amp is just making, because this engineer doesn't have a control over the guitar amp. That's why personally, if you I don't give anybody. I don't trust guitar amp. I would rather give you a floor wedge or in here that I can control. Because eventually everything falls back to the sound guy. And people will not want to understand. They don't want to, they don't even have the patience to understand. It's the sound guy that just want to kill everybody because he's the one on the board. Anyways, this is one of the platforms you use to educate people, to let people know. So there is that DCA, very important. It makes life easier. So for example, let's say I have someone that really doesn't know much about the sound. I'll just tell him, I've set up the mix, everything is good. Just go to your DCA. If this is too loud, bring it down. If you need more volume on your vocals, just bring down the instrument and increase your vocal. And that's simpler. Now, another thing that I will quickly do, so digital controlled amplifier. There are actually 2 categories. There's DCA and VCA. The other one is voltage control. Yeah, but this mixer doesn't have a VCA. There are some mixer. So those are the things you see in mixer that you know that okay, this mixer is bigger, because it has both DCA and both VCA. Do you understand? I don't know. I've never used it to myself before. You can, yeah, so it controls voltage, but like now, because the thing is voltage control, because your digital your signal, analog signal, is voltage. Do you understand? So you see VC is essentially in most analog board. I think some digital board. I really don't know sincerely, but yeah. So if you are watching us and you know what a VCA does, you can comment in the session. I mean, this is we are all learning. That's the good thing about sound engineering. It's nobody knows it all, right? So how do we allocate DCA to this. So let me just show us. There are two major ways. Now, if you look at this, you see, Behringer is really helping us. They are improving. If I double click this one, it the reason why something, yeah, wait, the reason why I'm expecting something to happen. The reason why something that I'm expecting to happen did not happen is because this board has not, the firmware has not been updated. If it has been updated, as I long press this, now as I long press this, every other channel will go down. The only channel that is on this one will come up. That's the new update they just did. So this is an old one. So but it still works. It's still the same thing. It's just a little bit higher. So when we upgrade it, and probably before we go, if we have the time, we can quickly upgrade it, and we'll see how it goes. Now, how do I add this? So I will long press this. If I want to remove them, can you see? I'm removing them now. Right. Kick in, kick out, snare, tom, overhead. Okay. Yep. So if I want to add them back, I'll just press 1 and add them back. So now, yeah, so I've added them now. This is, yeah, this is one way. Another way to do that, you can do it each channel, and you select the channel and come here. If you see the screen, the people at home might not be able to see clearly. You can see DCAs 1 to 8 and mute group 1 to 6. Now, but you don't have a control. You don't, any of this rotary is not, none of this rotary is controlling it, because this one is controlling this one, trim. This one is controlling threshold, but there is another page. What you're seeing here is another page. So you just go another layer rather. Just go another layer down. So as I go in another layer down now, wait. Yes. So you can see assign DCA mute group. So I can go here. So this is already DCA 1. Now this is a long shot because I have to do it one channel after the other. But if I want to do multiple channels, it's a faster. Yeah. So if you see the bass guitar, where is the bass guitar? Okay, that's what is not here. Bass guitar is 29, but in this setup, the bass guitar is coming out of, I think, let's play out something and figure out our bass guitar. I will sing of the goodness of God. You know what? I'll put this effect on mute group 6. So I've muted the. Can you see the difference? I muted the effect. 6. I put all the effect on 6. There's an effect. So I want to. So this is the keyboard, right? That's the scene. This is the acoustic, right? I'm soloing it. Just listening to it. And this is the electric. I think this is one of the vocals. Where is the bass? Because we use different setups. So I can and delay on DCA. Now, the thing about this thing is, come on, say something. Let's go back. There's a particular song that I really, really love. This is the event yesterday.
Oh, we look to the sun for you. You let your word move in power. Let your word.
Shout out to Calvary and his crew. I'm using your multi-track for this training. You might be watching, so let me give him a shout out. So so you see that we have arranged our setup that in a way that it's easier to quickly work, right? So if I want to take out the old drum, I'll just if I take out this, you won't get drum anymore. See guitar. Yeah, nothing is coming. Do you understand? So I can control things here. Now, the next is mute group. Very important. So how do we do mute group? Mute group, I think is usually done. Um, okay, yeah. There is a general mute group here, and then I'm not sure if there is a way to do mute group as we did this year, but usually this is the way I do it. That's why I prepare most of these things before I even go for the event, because so that I just get to the event and I'm just a yeah, I come here, mute group. So I want to put all my drum in mute one, because usually in my own setup my drum is usually the first thing you see. So I will just all my drum mute one. Can you see that? So can someone do the rest drum?
The rest drum.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah. So the next one. No, you've deselected now. Press it again. Press it again. So can you see when you press it, you see the yellow. So you go to the next one and then press it. You've removed it. One, yeah. Okay, so that's it. Because the reason why this and this they are supposed to okay, this and these are supposed to be the same, because if you these are linked together, these are overhead linked together. So whatever you do to one, I'll reflect on this one. Actually, this one I didn't use it yesterday, so there's I don't think there is anything there. But anyways, let's wait and see. Now I want to so if I mute one now, I mute all my muted at once. So instead of muting them one, I do this. Now you see the way it's. I have one button, one something to control everything and something to mute everything. It just makes life easier for myself. For example, maybe the band just finished playing, and maybe one of the channel of the drum is about to feedback. Instead of running up and down, I just kill it, and everybody is fine, everybody is happy. you know. Okay, so our switcher, you can be switching between the mixer and the and our face so that the live stream doesn't look boring. If you can hear us, I hope she can hear us. Okay, yeah, yeah, you're doing a very fantastic job. So that is that. Now, usually, sometimes I mute, put my all my string instrument, maybe keyboard, bass, guitar. I just put them on mute group too. Most cases, or if I have the time or I'm not dealing with so many things, I can just put keyboard in a mute group, and then three for all the other musical instruments apart from drum. But generally speaking, uh, put everybody, all of them together, Jerry. Any day if they annoy me too much, I'm sure some of them will be here and they will listen to me now. But anyways, that's how we roll. So I put them there, and then so when I take them out, wait. Okay, this one was not. Okay, this is music together too. So if you notice, all of them they are gone to 19, and all my vocals too. The good thing about this show was that that's why I put them on three. The vocals are pretty the same. So this is another vocal. I need to rename it. So it makes life easier for you. So at least you can see that now that you can apply this to your mix in church, whatever you have. In fact, like I said, we might have find time to come and rearrange everything to make them like, because I know things are a little bit all over the place. So we can do that. Now that that makes sense, right? Now notice what we did on this output part, this DCA group. This DCA is not, it does not necessarily it was not necessarily connected to any output at the back or on the stage box. It's just control within the board. Do you understand? Now, that is that. Now let's quickly now go to our channel strip, what we call channel strip. In an analog board, you will see each channel goes like this, each channel like this, right? But in a digital board, it's a little bit different. Not necessarily complex. It's just the arrangement is just a bit different, but it's the same thing. So if I select my kick in now, once I select this, any adjustment I make here is on this channel. So yeah, the layout is yeah, that's the word. That's a computer person talking. Now, so let's just use kick as an example and let's try and see if we can do something. It's already this is already almost mixed, complete mixing. But before I go to general mixing techniques and stuff, since we're talking about the output, let me now quickly say something about the effect. So for the effect routing, that's when we use the bus concept, because by default with this board and probably some other board, in some other board you have to you are the one that will configure it. But if you buy a Behringer X32 or a Midas M32, they are pre-configured for your effect side. Now, because we have 16 buses, bus 1 to 12, they are normal buses. You can configure them in different form. They have different configuration. Let me show you what I mean. If you select this bus 11, because bus 11 and 12, they are linked together, right? So you see home, we are home now. You can see they are linked. So let's go to the next page, which is configuration. If you look at the configuration, you have different configuration here. You have custom, in-healthy, pre-EQ, post-EQ, pre-fader, post-fader. That's why I said if we are going to pick all these things, we can spend the whole day. Now, what this post-fader means is that the signal that is coming out of these two channels depends on this fader. If this fader is done, because we are sending this live stream, right? If I take this fader down, they won't hear anything, right? Yeah. And the post fader is for this mixer is in two sides. Post fader also affect the input too. I don't want to complicate things. So anywhere you hear post fader, it means after fader. So whatever you are doing, so when you hear pre fader, so for this kind of application we use post fader. But if I want to set up a bus for a musician, either in their in here or on the wedge on the floor monitor, I will use pre-fader. And what that means is that when I come to the channel and I increase this fader or reduce this fader, it won't affect what is going there, because the signal is taken before the fader. That's pre-fader. So because the signal is taken before the fader, there is pre-EQ too. Before the EQ, there is post-EQ. After the EQ. Do you understand? There are some more sophisticated, the grandfather of this mixer that Behringer just released like 2 years ago. He actually has on each channel strip, you can determine the point you want to pick the signal. Do you understand? So that's a little bit more advanced and it gives you more flexibility. So what you pay for in a mix actually is not necessarily maybe higher, although higher audio quality too is there, higher resolution, because this one is the resolution of this mixer is the one we are using now is 48k kilohertz. You can see that's the sample rate. So you can compare this to maybe a 96 sample rate. That's times 2. So the detailing of a 96 is just like picture resolution or video resolution. Do you understand? So that is there. And also what you're paying for also is flexibility. Can we see my face a little bit on the live stream? Is she Yeah, it's we've been showing the mixer now. Just let me tell her that she should just be attentive. Once we are switching. Okay. Okay, great. I know. Okay. Thank you, uh, my dear sister. You're doing well. Okay. So I just quickly made that point. Now, the point I was actually, I don't want to get too much distracted, is this effect. You see, so from bus 1 to 12, we can connect them physically outside. You can decide. But they've made both 13 and 16 as our um, effect. Is it effect? Effect send. So these are used for effect. So their work essentially is restricted. We have restricted it into the board. Do you understand? For example, if I connect anything at output 14, it does not necessarily mean that it's going to. This is the effect that is connected to. It does not necessarily mean that this is what is connected to, because these are now attached primarily, essentially, to the effect side. So if you can see bus 13, 14, 15, 16, there are two effect sides too. Effect 1 to 4 and effect 5 to 8. This effect 1 to 4, they are like they are like default made. They come with the system. Although you can change the type of effect you want to put there. Like for example, this one we have vantage room on bus 13 and 14. So I can change it to gated reverb, or use a reverse reverb, or different one. Do you understand? But this is what comes with it, vintage room, and they are pretty decent effect. But on 5 to 8, I can now determine that, okay, I want bus 1 to go through this effect, but here you can't do that. Or can you? Actually, you can. You actually can. And as you can see, can you see? I can select that, but usually most people just leave them as 13 and 14. But the point I'm trying to make is the work of these guys are in the board. So when we now put, so we call this effect rack, because in the olden days, before digital board become popular, all these effects that you are seeing, they're actually physical hardware. Yeah, you tune them out manually, and you what you do is just like we are doing it internally in the board. So let's say this is an analog board. So we have bus 13. So on our bus 13 on our analog, we will send all the signal, all the channel we want to send to bus 13. So we'll send them to bus 13, and then we'll now send that bus 13 to this vintage room outside. And then we'll take it back into the board. That's why we now have this return. So you can see under here, auxiliary in, USB, and effect return. So, but that wiring has been done. Yeah, so that's why in those days you see, even we still do cable connection now, but at least we have cut that side of cable connection, we have cut it out. So the routing is done internally. So if I want this, my effect 13 now, if I want it to come out of the live stream, this is what I will just send my live stream today. So all the effects that we are hearing since they are not hearing it on the live stream, I will just send it to them now. So if I play the music back, if you go back and listen to what's the live stream, you won't hear the effect, but now you will hear it now, because this is live stream bus, and I've said, okay, let me send on feed, let me send this return to the live stream, so that they too can enjoy the effect of the effect. I hope that is not, if there is a particular song I'm actually looking for us to try and mix with. Do you know you are not hearing anything? Do you know the reason why? It's muted, yes. So, because they are muted. So I only release the drum alone. String.
Move in power, yes. Let what's dead come to life. We are here for you.
So you can see those things. Okay, let's see what we have here.
The sun. Oh, we look to the sun. Salvation.
I'm looking for a particular song. Actually, I think I will be able to see it in the vocals. Okay, what channel is it? Okay. Just a little.
Let our praise be your welcome you with praise. Almighty, go down.
Okay. Too much command. Okay, so now do you understand what's this? So we use the application of the bus here to do internal routing. That's if routing is another topic on its own. So let's quickly go to each channel strip. So how does the signal flow in the board? So when it comes to the board, the first thing that the signal place it gets to is your gain or the preamp. Now, I touched on what the preamp does the last time. Usually, even in analog mixer, look at it, gain. And what that does is it just boosts it, preamplify it. The first stage that increases your microphone level to line level so that you can work with it. Because if it is too low and it's close to the noise level, what you're going to be mixing is noise. Do you understand? Yeah. So, and then there we will now start talking about signal to noise ratio and things like that. So, under the gain here, we can see different other parameters. Now, if I look at this channel and you look at the ohm, let's now go to configuration. You will see most of the things in this configuration preamp. Can you see config preamp? That's what we have here. So we have under here we can select a source for it. We can if we need to link it or trim it. You know, why do we have trim here? And we have, if you can remember, we have gain here. Can anybody remember? I mentioned it last week. Yeah. We are mentioning gain here because this is an analog signal that's coming in directly. The reason why this is trim is because the digital signal already, because it's coming from the C. But if it is A or local input, it will be gain. Yeah. Yeah. So, but there are some mixer that has both gain and trim at the same time. So what that means is that you can still boost it even after the ADC, analog to digital converter, has converted the analog signal already. Because this is the digital board, there is a point whereby the signal converts to digital. Because for this thing to work, your analog, so probably after the preamp or before the preamp, wherever, somewhere in between, there is a digital conversion that has happened. So that is that about that. So, and here there are some buttons here. I will just explain what some of this button does, not necessarily in depth. Now this is 48 volts. You'll be wondering, why do we need 48 volt? There are some microphone. In fact, there was a seminar during this week. I think I sent it. Did I send it to any of you?
Yeah. On the microphone?
Yes.
It's part of it now. The
Yeah.
type of microphone, the condenser.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
No,
two to you.
during the week, yeah.
Now just a link.
Yeah, it was a link to a seminar. Yeah, it was
When we were trying to explain different
Type of
microphone. Yeah, in fact, the seminar talk about microphone techniques essentially, because the reason why microphone technique is very. In fact, I'll find time also to do that locally, is because especially for a vocalist, because if you're a musician, you're a vocalist, if you sing, your major tool is your microphone. And you need to know how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, if you don't know different type of microphone we have, what we call polar patterns, pickup patterns, things like that.
effects of your voice.
Yeah, number one, you make a mess of your voice, you will abuse the microphone. Many people abuse the microphone.
Maybe that's why some people when they talk on the yeah,
People, some people shout into the.
Talk about the distance,
Yes,
distance to your mouth.
that shows that you follow the seminar. Very important information that will help people. So you mentioned condenser microphone. So if you are connecting a condenser microphone to your mixer and this 48 volt is not on, it's not going to work because it has a capacitor attached to the diaphragm that needs to be charged before it works. There is a lot of electronics that go into that, so we don't need the detail. But essentially, it needs it needs to be powered. Yeah, like a boost. So each channel has that capability to do that. In some smaller analog mixer, they will group like each channel and they will put one phantom power there so that the phantom power can work for each LDA. So that's not flexible enough. But this now, each channel, which is good. Now there is this invert polarity. This is polarity. There's no time to go into the detail, but I will just give you a scenario to explain that. When, basically, audio signal is sinusoidal in nature, basically, at the basic level. So, it's sine wave, yes, for those of us that still remember our physics. Now, if I have two signal going at the same time in phase concurrently, and I had them together, there will be what we call cancellation. They will cancel. There is nobody. I will have just shown us. So if you have the same signal, for example, now I will show you here. In fact, we can demonstrate it here. That I have kick in and kick out. We use it also for snare top and snare bottom. If you have kick in and kick out, because your kick, when you are hitting your kick, the only good thing here is that they are not at the same distance from your major source. But let's say they are at the same distance. That means the sound generator is generating at the same time and at the same distance. That is the time in space and distance in space is the same. So by the time both of them come in, they come in at the same time. If one of them is not delayed, they come in at the same time. Now, by the time we had them together and we play them together, you won't hear anything. They will cancel. So you have to invert one. So when you invert one, that means when one is positive, the other is negative. So by the time they had together, they sum. We call it summation. So there is summation and there is cancellation. So summation will give you more. So if you had 0 plus 0 is what? But in sound, 0 plus 0 is 3. Yes. Why is it that? It's essentially mathematics. Yes, it's because it's logarithmic scale. Log 1 plus log 1.
that's calculus though.
So log 1 plus log 1 will give you log 2 base 10, right? And log 2 base 10 is 0.3. So by the time you convert it back, we give you 3. So 3 dB. So it's a little bit of mathematics involved. Yeah. So that's just it. So in sound, 0 plus 0 is not 0. 0 plus 0 is 3. So what that means is that, so if we have that, that means we have boost in signal. Do you understand? In fact, we can use the audio to talk about cancellation and summation. Very interesting. So you also have what we call low cut. Low cut is a lifesaver in your mix. It's used to clean out any mess that is in the mix because many times you don't need some low end, some bass that are unnecessary. They will cloud your mix. They will make your mix muddy. For example, if you look at the vocal channel on the EQ, you can see that I cut the low cut till about 140. In fact, sometimes can be very drastic. I can cut till about 300 because in most people's vocal range, there's nothing within between 20 and 100 that is useful for the mix. And if you leave it in the mix, by the time everything comes together and they begin to sum up, you'll be building up mess in your mix like rumble. So we say the mix is muddy. It won't clean. So this is very important. So there are some instruments that also they don't need that low end. You just clean it up. So if you see, these are building a mix is like you're building a house.
Like instruments that don't like this.
Yeah, bass you don't necessarily need to clean. You clean some, but you clean to some extent. That's why last week we said something that reference, and then being familiar with music. How does a bass? How should a bass sound? Do you understand? How should a drum kick sound in the mix? Essentially, because everything is relative to the mix. If a kick sound good alone, but it's not sounding good in the mix, it's still rubbish. So we need to make sure that it sits well in the mix. That's the word. Because it's a combination of so many things you are trying to bring together. It's like you are trying to cook jollof rice, but you are the type that like to taste salt in your jollof rice. Do you understand? Or you like to taste Maggi in your jollof rice. Everything has to be in proportion so that the jollof rice will come out and everybody will say good. So that's where we have balance sound, you know. So those are the things we look at, and these are the tools that are going to be helping. Low cut, very important. So it helps us to clean out. We call it clean out any mess that is coming into the channel. So after that, after the preamp, you have the EQ. These are very important. EQ can make or mar your mix. Now, if you don't know what to do in the EQ, now we have 4 bands here. And under these 4 bands, we now have different type of EQ. For example, this high can switch between 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use PEQ, parametric EQ. I think VEQ also is a voltage control EQ. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Check it out. And it has iShelf or iCut. I'll show you what. So here is on parametric. You can switch it to VEQ. You can switch it to iShelf. You can switch it to iCut. Can you see iCut? You see? And there are different ways that different scenario that you will need different this thing. Yeah. So I'll just quickly go through and do a quick mix and see if we can get something sweet to listen to. Do you understand? I've still not seen the song I'm looking for. I hope I let's see. Let's allow that to be playing. Okay, I won't release it.
Mercy never fails me.
No, that's not
All my days
this one came.
I've been held
Maybe I did record it.
with thorns.
That would be terrible.
Is crowned with glory now. The sound robed in majesty. Your name is victory. I'll pray, everlasting God,
I didn't record it.
the everlasting. Are holy, only you
Okay.
are worthy.
Let's do this one. I'll do this one. I don't think I recorded that part. Oh, that's too bad. Because I was planning to even go back to remix that part and produce it properly. Okay, so now let's use this guy's voice. Yep. Let's use his voice to practice how to mix vocal. This is just raw that is coming in from him, right? I'm not sure if what our people are hearing from home is only the guy's voice. I don't think it's too
All
true.
my life you have been faithful. Sing it out.
Okay.
All my life you have been so.
Can you help me check? Ask her to check what they are hearing.
With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness.
They are hearing
of God.
everything.
I love your voice.
They are hearing everything. Anyway. Okay, what we can
You
do?
led me through the fire.
What we can do is I can just take down
Darkest night, you were close like no other.
either mute all of them on this channel, on this out, right?
I've known you as a
Let
friend,
me leave it.
and I have lived in the goodness of God.
So they will hear only him now. Did you see what I did?
All my
I
life
muted
you
each
have
channel
been
on the live stream.
faithful.
Right. So let's see what we can do. It already looks like it looks okay, but let's
So good. every breath that I am
This looks like
able,
what is coming in raw
and I will say,
for the guy.
and
The level is good,
goodness of
right?
God.
Okay, the level is good, and
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
just to.
Your goodness is running
The first thing I want to
after,
do is
it's running
initiate my
after
low cut
me.
and see
With
how
my
much I
life
want to.
laid down, surrender
Because this
now,
is already
I give
pre-recorded,
you
there's really no much
everything.
effect that this one gives us, right?
Your goodness is running
But
after,
clean
it's
it up.
running after
And
me.
let me restart this. Yeah.
Your goodness is running
So
after,
this is
it's
the channel
running
raw,
after me.
no process, nothing. So I
Your
put my
goodness is
low.
running after, it's running
This view is what I used to
after
bring it out to
me.
see it bigger.
With my life laid down, surrender now, I give you everything.
Can you see the difference?
Your
And I don't want to
goodness is
take out
running
that
after,
too,
it's
so that it
running
doesn't sound
after me.
not natural. So it does too much. In fact, I can't go more beyond 400. So I will do
All my
probably
life you have been
around 190, depending on the texture. This guy that is singing has some very good texture around this area, and we'll see now. So I'll come to my low end, my low frequency here. I'll turn it on, and I'll put it on PEQ. I usually use PEQ. Some people use VEQ. They are essentially very similar, not exactly the same, but there is a slight difference between this VEQ and PEQ, but they are very similar. And the good thing about them is that the good thing about PEQ and VEQ that I like is that you have you use all the three parameters to adjust to get your result. You have the Q, you have the frequency, you have the gain. There's really no much time to go into all the details too. Permit me, we'll probably stay 15 minutes, a little bit longer because we started late. Sorry about that. My bad. So, but you can adjust the gain. If you look at it, there is a gain here. You can adjust the Q, the wideness, or some people call it Q as bandwidth, but I mean, Q is not accurately the bandwidth, but is a parameter to define the bandwidth. Anyway, electronics. And then we have the frequency, so I can move it. I can select where frequency I want to affect. Now let's see the effect of this. Yeah. Let's go back. Actually, this is what I should have done.
I love you, Lord.
Instead of muting all this one, I'll have just
Your
muted them
mercy
in the main.
never fails
You
me
get.
in all my days.
Yeah. I
I've
just
been
muted. I just
held in
only
your
omit this.
hands
So this is it. Now
from the
look at
moment
what I
that
do.
wake
Can you see that? So I want to see. Now I'm looking. Now when you are EQing, what you are looking for essentially is the bad frequency. You want to take it out. The first bad frequency we took out was
all
this
my
low end,
life
because we
you
know it's not going
have
to be useful
been
to us, so we take it out.
faithful.
So we want to
Sing
take
out.
out in when an input
All
comes in
my
raw.
life you have been so,
It has a lot of
so
components that if you leave it in
good.
the mix, is not necessarily good for your mix. So as a mixing guy, what you're looking for is, okay, what is really not going to help my mix to sound reasonable and to everything to sit well? Let me take them out. So that's why we
I
do
love
that.
your
Okay, we can actually.
way.
So for the people to hear at home, that's why we
You
release this.
led me
Do
through
you
the
understand? We don't necessarily need to release it. We can just mute solo this, and this is why this solo is good. Let's say something is going on, the event is going on, and you want to check out one particular, so you can usually use this, and you don't affect anything. So let's see. Can you hear that? Can you hear that side? So I've seen that this place doesn't sound good, but it's not as terrible as this part. So what I'll take that out. So I took it out, I put it in. You see the effect that it cleaned it up a little bit. So the next one, let's see. That one to sound a little bit harsh. It sounds harsh, but it doesn't sound necessarily like it's bad. But we can just maybe leave it flat. What do you think is missing in this sound? By default, in my ear, I say, let me give him a little bit of hair, like a little bit of high hand. So I will use this iChef to do that. So you see the difference from the raw to the EQ. So it and giving it here a little bit is it helps it to at least cut through your mix a little bit so that you can hear it distinctively when everything comes together. So what about the effect? Let's look at the effect. How does the effect sound? Because this is the channel, and if I click send on fader, it has plate reverb. I want to give it some room reverb too, and it has some delay already on it. If you see, I selected this, I click send on fader. So this is showing me the 3 effects that is on this channel. Do you understand? If I go the other way and I select this bus, so it's only this channel. Okay, this one too. I will put a little bit of kick and snare, a little bit of kick, but instrument verb I will put drum, snare, and some of the tom. I use them for this one's probably too much. I will leave this one. I will use a little bit of this vocals. Yep, this plate reverb, and then I'll put this one. Yep. So that channel, this is the channel. So let me release the effect.
You led me through the fire in the darkest night. You were close like
Can you
no
hear the
other.
effect at all?
I'd have known you as a father. I've known you as
You can hear it
a
now, right?
friend. And I have lived
This is the drive.
in the goodness of
It's
God.
not that pronounced.
All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able.
Okay, let's increase the volume.
And I will sing in the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running
Which I'm not hearing
after
the
me.
I want to
Your
make sure
goodness is running
everything is
after,
done properly.
it's running after me.
Okay.
With my life laid down,
Yeah, you sent,
surrender
and it's
now.
coming back.
I give you everything.
Okay, this is online.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your
Okay.
goodness is running after,
I
it's
think
running after me.
after fail.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
Okay, let me just quickly go into, we'll come back to effect. Let me go to the next one. So we can see the EQ, right? The EQ, how you use EQs to shape the tone or the tonal quality of each channel and make it sound like what you really want. That's why we still go back to reference a little bit. If you don't have a reference that, okay, this is the way a vocal should sound in the mix. I mean, everybody will not sound the same way. But in terms of the tone, you have an idea that, okay, the mid is too harsh. Let me cut down the mid. And I don't need the low end. Okay, I need a little bit of high end to give it some hair. Things like that. So you can do that. Now let's look at kick. Now this is this kick. So this is what comes in flat without any processing. Can you see that? When we put EQ, let's see what happens when we put EQ. I'm gonna look for where the kick is more pronounced. Okay, the kick is more pronounced here. Okay, we should have something now. So can you hear? Can you hear the kick? No, flat. Everything is coming in flat. This is a flat kick. So you can hear that. You can hear that. You can hear some of the synth, some of the synth backward. If you don't want to hear that, you use what we call gate. Now, gate is what you just like the. This is what I want to go. If you notice, we can. It's not as pronounced. If I take it out, you can hear those. Yeah. So that's range. Let me reduce the range. So if the person kicking the kick is not kicking to some extent, even the kick will not pass through. The gate will think the kick also is a noise. Do you understand? Yeah. So that is that. That is gate. I've not talked about compression. Compression also is very important. I'm just looking at time now. So let's just see what we can do with this kick. Usually, some people, depending on the type of the mixer, some people will. There is a particular frequency that I normally target, something around 50 to 60 Hz. That's where the punchiness is. So I will come to around that point. Can you hear that? Sounds better. But because we are using two kick microphone, that's another. That's another. That's another. Let's. Just one, yeah. So it's a little bit. At least you have two microphones. So and then the next frequency I normally target is something around between 200 and 400. That frequency is usually terrible. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? So I take it out. Can you now see the difference now? See the difference. See the difference. Can you hear it? If I want it tighter a little bit, I move it down. Can you hear the difference? So it depends on the taste of what I want. It's sounding. Yeah, it does one thing about this work now. So I think I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'll go to the next one. Let me see if I can see something stubborn too, or something good I can enhance. This side too is not necessarily good. Let me see if taking it out would make any difference. It makes a little bit different. Yeah, it makes a little bit different. So let me go to the last one. I won't use iShelf here. I'll still come to my either of the peak EQ, because sometimes I need this eye hand to give my drum to some high punch. So as I'm having the low punch and high punch together, when they come together, they usually sound amazing. Don't go. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? Sounds more. And then I'll now use my compression to achieve dynamics. What is dynamic? When someone is, let me use this to explain. When someone is singing, I'm singing praise the Lord, and I want to sing some high note. One of the good use of microphone is if I want to hit some high note, and I'm going to shout, I'm supposed to withdraw, either withdraw the microphone a little bit, or be, if I understand the polar pattern of the microphone, just change the direction, because the microphone will not pick as if it is cardioid. Now, I'm singing directly into the it, and I want to pitch, I want to reduce, I want to like give it a little bit more dynamic in terms of, by the time I'm increasing what is going in, the volume will increase. Which, if I don't have a compression on my channel, or the person on the mixer is not very attentive to quickly bring down the volume, it will now be too loud at that point. So one of the things I can do is I can move the microphone away, or I can change the I can change the direction so that the pickup will not be as much as directly. So that's yeah.
It's not out of emotion. It's intentional.
It's intentional because they have the knowledge and they know. So one of the tools that we use to also correct that is this compression. That is to say, I will show us now that if I put it, so it has a threshold. You know, that, like I said, we won't be able to go into details of all the parameters in the compression. But there is what we call a threshold, that anything above this threshold, start compressing it. Do you understand? So when I set my threshold, that's why we do sound check. These are some of the things so when they come and do sound check, you see, okay, this is how this person sing. But some people will even want to trick you. That's why when we do sound check, that's why, you know, I was in an event one day and we said, okay, let's do sound check. And this person said, I said, okay, let's use the song you want to sing to do sound check. I said, no, we don't want to sing the song now. So that everybody will not hear them. Let's keep, but no. But the truth is, if you don't sound check with the song you are doing, because each song has its own dynamic too. There are some songs that at a point you go louder, you go cooler on the piano. So if you don't, and the sound engineer doesn't know with the flow of the song, it's going to make his life a little bit difficult. So if you look at professional musicians, when they sound check, they don't take sound check joke with it, because that's in fact that's the real deal. Do you understand? So everybody, all the musicians, they are on point, like, okay, this is what I want to hear in my mix. This is this. Okay, can you give me this? They know what they want, and they're able to communicate it effectively to the musician. So the compression is what helps us to maintain dynamic. Do you understand? To have that level of where something is not excessively too loud or too quiet. Yeah. So this compression helps you to boost a little bit of your quiet parts to match up with the loud part, so that you have good dynamic range. Yeah. So
If it's like this,
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So if you look at the kick here now, by the time I had compression to it, it's already, I'm liking what I'm hearing. Do you understand? It's sounding quite rich. So by the time I increase my compression, I put my compression to it, it increased the flavor. Can you hear that? So come and see how it's compressing. See how much is compression. Hear that? Can you hear that? Now it has reduced the volume because it started kicking here. So this is what I do. There are other parameters that we adjust: hold, release, and attack, things like this. So compressor also now has what we call a makeup gain, that so that the thing that it has compressed, it has given us good dynamic, we can now make up the gain again. Can you now see now? So it make it more defined than when it doesn't have the compression. It's a little bit subtle, but it will make a lot of difference eventually. Yeah. So that is that. Let me apply it similar to my kick out, although this is already sounding tight already, right? So if I put everything, both of them together, okay. I thought I have something here. Okay, there is no. So you can see that one. This is one. This is the second. They actually sound very similar, and it's intentional. So when I put everything together, I think I'm liking what I'm hearing in terms of the kick. So let's see if this has an effect. It doesn't. In some cases it will have effect, in some cases it doesn't. So I think my kick is, I can go to the market with that. Although so I can I think I like this kick out even more. Now the microphone used for this kick out is an amazing microphone. Oh my goodness, that microphone itself, the way it's sounding is something else. Because I don't have much processing to hit compared to the first one. If you look at this second one compared to the first one, but let's forget that. Let's go to the snare. Actually, it's already mixed already. So I'm just showing us some of this, and this boss send. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get boss send, but at least we're able to cover some of this just briefly. So let's see what we can. The snare is sounding. I'm liking the way it's sounding already. Yeah. Yeah, the microphone for snare is picking up the hi-hat, but what we can do also is we can do this. It's called bleeding, and in live setting you have that, and if you want to make sure that you kill it, you will eventually kill the naturality of the sound, right? Yeah, so sometimes you kill. Yes, yeah. So now if you listen to you can hear the snare. Even some part of the snare is not even coming through. Do you understand? So, but you don't want to do that too much. So let's see the tom. Let me look at where we have tom. Tom is number 4. Just want us to number 4. Okay, I think we have tom. Can you hear it? That I want to tame it a little bit. It's not necessarily bad, but okay, let's see. The tom. Can you hear that? I actually like that tom because by the time it comes together in the mix, it's going to be, when I started mixing, yeah. And then the drum is well tuned too. The drum is well tuned. Usually for my drums, there are some frequencies that I know that by default they are problematic frequencies. Something around between 200 and 400 usually. For tom, especially for tom, yeah. Those are my first go-to frequency. So let's see. Okay, see this one too. Can you hear that? I play it again. Can you hear that? Can you see now? It's getting. Now, can you see the kick that we think is sounding good? We need to do some a little adjustment to it too. Yeah. Now. So my kick is coming alive now. Yeah. Okay. I think let's go to the next tom. Let's see if we can see it. I just want, before we go, we'll be done shortly. Tom, yeah. I'm playing the two toms now to hear them relative to each other, because I don't want them to sound exactly the same too. Now for this one is a little bit lower, is a lower hand tom, so I want to give it that low hand compared to the. So almost there. Together now. The next one, which one is the next one? That should be another tom, but we don't have much of it here. And then overhead are the two. What those ones do, one of the advantages of those ones is that they give you what we call drum room, and then they are supposed to capture almost everything, right? But they are targeted towards cymbal, but they are not just for cymbals alone, but they pick the cymbals, but as you can hear everything there. And if they are set up properly, they will usually, I just put a little bit of high on them and then take out some of the mid, some of the more problematic mid that I'm not able to. Can you hear? So coming to my DCA group. The effect of my snow is too much. Now, you may ask me, what does this effect do? You know, like last week I was explaining something about what we call three-dimensional mixing. What 3D mixing is that when you are looking at your stage and you are listening to what they are singing, from the mix you can locate where each musician is. So what the reverb and all those delay does is that it creates space in the mix. So and then when it creates space, now with effect and what we call panning, you can now locate. So let's try panning. Panning is here. I will show you now. Like panning is, I'm moving this equipment. I want it to sound more on this on left. I want it to sound more, right? So for example, now my kick, I don't pan kick and snare. Some people pan snare. I started probably panning snare just a little bit, but my toms, I pan them. So I will put my tom, the first tom, because usually when you're looking at the drummer, the first tom is probably this side. So I'll pan it to the where I will see it. This side. The next tom will be somewhere on this side. So if you notice, the other tom is sounding more on this side, one is sounding more on this side. So by the time it plays together, everything, it's making sense the way I'm looking at it and the way I'm hearing it. You understand? It's just the way, it's one of the things we do. And then when I now put effect, so you can see that, okay, I can hear this one far from this side. That's what that, because you are creating space in your mix, and it's a technique that has been very, very, it's improving my mixing. Okay, and then what else? I'll pan this one a little bit here. Now you will see it more in the vocal. So let's go to the vocals. Sorry, I know we are tired, right? I will welcome in this place. Every heart, let every heart adore. Let every soul awake. Almighty God of love, be welcome in this place. We welcome you with praise. We welcome you with praise. Almighty God of love, be welcome in this place. This is the lead one. The person that's leading, I normally leave him at the center.
Yes, let's sing it out together.
Let me look for another one.
Our hearts are open. I have lived in the goodness.
So this is the guy that is leading. I leave him on the left. So let me find the other guys.
All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am in, and I will sing the goodness of God.
Now if you hear them now together now.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
The drum is a little bit loud. I'll come here.
Your
Take it out.
goodness is running after, it's
Can you hear when I'm hearing the vocals? I can hear some more to this side, some more to the other side. It just makes it, and then the lead vocal is at the center, leading them.
It's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
This is electric guitar. Just want to turn it.
My life.
So, with these few points of
All
mine,
my life you
I'm sure we are able to pick one or two things. We can't really exhaust everything in one. Yeah. So.
with every breath that I am in, and I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am in, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Yeah, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, God, you are so good. You
You're the creator God who stands over the entire world and all the circumstances. Many searching for answers far and wide, but I know
No.
we're all
It's something I'm actually looking at.
blessed of God.
That's so popular. It's more popular.
Blessed of God.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
So how does it
Your
sound?
goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after,
Okay, so
running after me.
I think we can stop the live stream now. So for those that have joined us, you can hear how it's sounding live stream. Yeah.